Have you ever found yourself wondering why you react to certain situations in the exact same way every single time, even when you know it's not helpful? It's like, it feels automatic, right? Almost like a program that's just running in the background of your mind. Well, today we're going to dive into what some ancient psychological texts call our hidden mental programming. You know the feeling. Someone cuts you off in traffic and boom, instant anger. You get a nice compliment and there's that wave of pleasure and you kind of want more. Or you feel a split second of boredom and without even thinking, you're reaching for your phone. So why do these reactions feel so completely involuntary? That's the big question we're going to try and unpack here. To get to the bottom of these loops, we first have to look at this invisible chain reaction that happens in our minds. And it happens fast, like in less than a second. It's a whole process that kicks off with something incredibly simple, just a feeling. And what's really going on here is this super fast chain reaction. One moment, you're just experiencing a basic feeling, pleasant, painful, or maybe just neutral. But then, the very next moment, that simple feeling triggers a much bigger response. A pleasant feeling lights up into craving. A painful one sparks this immediate pushback, this aversion. And this whole thing runs on autopilot, way under the surface, before we're even consciously aware it's happening. So what is this invisible force that can hijack a simple feeling and just blow it up into a powerful, full-blown reaction? Well, the psychological texts we're looking at have a very specific name for it. Let's start peeling back the layers and get right to the heart of this thing. They're called underlying tendencies. And a great way to think about them is like deep sleeping habits of the mind. They're not active all the time, they just lie dormant, kind of waiting for the right trigger, which is a specific feeling, to wake them up. And when they do wake up, they instantly color how we see everything and totally drive our next move. And listen, this isn't just some minor psychological quirk we're talking about. According to these texts, really understanding and working with these tendencies is a pretty profound spiritual goal. This quote here really frames it as this fundamental act of liberation, and not just for yourself, but for everyone. Okay, so what are these tendencies exactly? I mean, while they can show up in a million different ways, the source material really boils them all down to three fundamental roots. These three are what drive pretty much all of our automatic reactions. And here they are: greed, repulsion, and ignorance. And greed isn't just about money. It's that subtle craving for one more minute of scrolling or one more bite of that dessert. Repulsion is that deep, gut-level push-away, that flash of irritation you feel at a slow computer, or the anger you feel when you're criticized. And ignorance, that's the tendency to kind of check out or just not see things clearly, especially when feelings are more neutral or subtle. And this part is just brilliant, how it all connects. Each of these root tendencies is paired up with a specific type of feeling. So when we experience something pleasant, the underlying tendency for greed gets activated. When we feel something painful, the tendency for repulsion kicks in. And when a feeling is just kind of neutral and we don't really know what to do with it, the tendency for ignorance takes over. So here's the whole chain reaction in a nutshell. Step 1, a feeling arises. Step 2, depending on the flavor of that feeling, the matching underlying tendency gets triggered. And then step 3, that tendency fuels an automatic and often unskillful reaction. It all happens in a flash, and it's what keeps us stuck in those same old loops. All right, so if that's the process that keeps us trapped, what's the alternative? What would a mind that has actually been freed from all these automatic reactions, what would that look and feel like? The contrast they describe is, well, it's pretty stark. On the one hand, a mind governed by these tendencies is described as being constantly reactive, kind of chained to its own impulses, and ultimately in a state of suffering. But a mind without them? That mind is described as being truly free, clear-sighted, and just fundamentally at peace. The texts use some really powerful words to describe this liberated state. The mental defilements, things like greed, hatred, and delusion, they've ended, conceit is gone, the mind is tamed, steady, and quenched, almost like a fire that has finally gone out. And, crucially, you are rid of the very roots of unskillful actions. This beautiful metaphor here really gives us a sense of what that transformation might feel like. It's about a complete shedding of an old way of being. Just like a serpent leaves its old skin behind, a spiritual seeker sheds the bindings of their old reactive self. It's pretty powerful stuff. So the goal here isn't just to manage these tendencies or to keep them in check. Nope. The path described in these texts aims for their complete and total uprooting. The number of underlying tendencies left in a fully awakened mind is 0. Nothing left to be triggered. Okay, this is a really fascinating ancient concept. But what does it mean for us right here, right now? How can knowing about greed, repulsion, and ignorance actually help us in our day-to-day lives? Well, it matters because awareness is always the first step. Just knowing this framework exists can help you start to see your automatic reactions for what they really are. It helps you trace your personal frustrations and your own suffering back to their hidden roots. It gives you a new and maybe more compassionate lens for understanding yourself. And like the source text says, this kind of awareness makes it possible to make an end of suffering in the present life. So the real power here lies in creating a little gap, a tiny pause between the feeling and the reaction. By paying closer attention to your feelings as they come up, whether they're pleasant, painful, or neutral, you can start to see the tendency as it gets triggered, right before it locks you into that old familiar loop. And look, this isn't about judging yourself or forcing yourself to change. It's really just about seeing things more clearly. So the question I want to leave you with is a personal one. Now that you have this map, which of your own automatic patterns, your own underlying tendencies, will you start to look at with just a little bit more curiosity?